learning to wait after half a year or something. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Stokes County Board of Commissioners for August 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And we'll start with our invocation given by Commissioner Wood.
Precious Heavenly Father, thank you for a beautiful day. Thank you for this beautiful county. Be with us as we make business decisions concerning the county. Watch over, guide us, and give us a safe trip home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, and I have County Manager asked me to ask you guys to add one budget amendment for a situation that occurred in the jail. So if we could get a motion to approve the agenda with that one change.
Motion to approve with the addition of the item concerning the jail.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. And you handed out a copy of the budget amendment so everybody can see what it is there. And we'll just address that budget amendment along with the others whenever we approve the consent agenda, if that's okay with everybody, unless you have questions about it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a couple of public hearings we need to have. The first one is a public hearing on the abandonment of the Moortalk Park baseball field. Economic Development is requesting the abandonment of the obsolete baseball softball field at Moortalk Park. It has been used for organized sports. It has not been used for organized sports in over a decade, and the intended use, once abandoned, is for green space. Pursuant to the Land and Water Conservation Fund State Assistance Program, recipients are not required to continue operation of a particular recreation area or assistive facility beyond its use or life. Do we have anybody sign up to speak in the public hearing? No. Okay, does anybody have any questions or want to ask? Lori's here, I see. Any questions? All righty. Okay, the next item is a second public hearing, and this one is on the intent to close Shoebuckle Road. A request was received from the state to abandon maintenance of approximately 0.30 miles of Shoebuckle Road, State Road 1912. The board's ready to hear public input if anybody signed up. Has anybody signed up? Okay, great. We have nobody signed up for either one of those public hearings to speak. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comments, and I think we have one person signed up. Let me see here. That would be April Handy. If you'd like to come up, you have 4 minutes. You have 4 minutes to speak, and just pull that microphone close to you so everybody can hear you.
Good.
That's good. So fire away.
Okay, my name is April Handy, and I'm the co-owner of Easy Eats LLC, which is a food truck in Stokes County. We're the food truck that set up last Wednesday at the Government Center here at Reagan Building. There has been talk about how my truck has hurt the area restaurants. There has been talk about me, as a food truck owner, not having to pay for any of the things that other restaurants have to pay for. First, let me start by saying I have been a Stokes County resident my entire life. I've never lived in another county. I own property in the northern side of the county, so I do pay taxes in Stokes. My commissary is in the northern part of the county. I rent this building no different than Subway in Warnock Cove rents their store for space. I pay for the permit for that building, the power, trash removal, grass being mowed. All of this is my business's responsibility. So how is my business any different than others other than I can move around a little bit? I don't see how one day of setup would hurt any other restaurant. There are some days that restaurants are closed, and we just want to offer employees and other people choices when eating. I'm not trying to take away from anyone or anybody else's business. Places such as Stokes County or the Early College in Stokes County has invited not only our truck, but others as well. We just want to be able to make a living no different than anyone else. That's all I'm asking is for you to consider everyone, not just a few. Thank you.
Miss Andy, could you give us your address?
My address
Just
is
get the name and the address.
1020 Claudes Drive, and that's it's Stokes County, but it's Madison zip code.
Thank you very much.
It's in Sandy Ridge, actually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all we have signed up, I think, for public comments. So our next item on the agenda is comments from the manager and commissioners, and we'll start with Commissioner Mendenhall.
I just want to thank everybody for being here. Everybody that's on the live stream watching us, thank you for participating. I hope that everyone is staying cool in this warm weather. And just once again, for everybody that helps us with the participation in our governmental process, that's so important. Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you supporting our government, and thank you for taking the time to come up and give your comments, ma'am, on the public comments. And that's what, I guess that's the great thing about local government is it's more direct, that we can actually hear from our constituents. That's all I got.
Commissioner Wood.
Thank everybody for coming also. The rest of my comments is my opinion. I have not talked in detail to none of the other commissioners. We live in a great state. It's one or two in attracting business last year. I witnessed that firsthand. The volume of people moving in is unbelievable. I think we're in the top 5 places where people's coming. There's even talks in Raleigh about cutting sales tax and tax, but yet they think it's necessary for us to have casinos and gambling. And I want to go on record that me personally, I'm totally against it, and I hope our neighboring counties got enough sense to vote against it a week from today. That's all I got.
Ronnie? Commissioner Cox.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for being here and taking an interest in county government and what we're doing here. And I'd like to just take this opportunity to remind everybody of an event that's coming up August the 31st. I think we'll probably meet again before then, but just in case, I wanted to let everybody know so they could plan. It's called it's an International Opioid Awareness Day, and there's an event going to be held over at the October Road facility in Walnut Cove, and the public's invited, our board, and every maybe Amber could send out something to the departments to let them know about it. It's an event to raise awareness about the opioid crisis, the overdose, and it will be a candlelight vigil. It's around 7 to remember the names will be read of all the people that we've lost to overdose in the county, and they can send those to Wendy at Birch's Foundation or myself or anybody that we don't want to forget anybody. So anybody that wants to be the family, or somebody has to request that they be remembered in that fashion. But I think it's a good way to erase the stigma, and so that maybe more people will reach out for help to hold these types of events. And there'll be things for kids to do there. The Mental Health Association is helping with it next door at the Sid Allen House. So there'll be activities for children there, and as well as I think a cookout type thing. So thank you. That's all.
Amber, you got any comments?
Yeah. Welcome. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to those watching online. Thank you for participating in our process tonight, and feel free to just reach out and let me know if you need anything. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. My comments first, welcome everybody that's here. Also appreciate your comments on the food truck. That's kind of feedback we need to hear. We normally have a hospital board of trustees meeting. You notice we didn't have one tonight. We are going to have a special call board of trustees meeting on the 8th of September. I spoke with the CEO of LifeBright a week or two ago, and he and the COO both of the company will be attending that meeting. And we're working on the agenda for that. The other thing we discussed is to give you a little bit of an update is the feasibility study. He received a letter from our county attorney about what we need to do to get the feasibility study going and completed. And he took a keen personal interest in getting the rest of the data out to the company that's doing the study. So he and the chief operating officer and their controller all had themselves added to it's called the Teams format or the Teams meeting thing, where they could go in individually and view what information had been provided and what was still to be provided. And they uploaded some more information after that conversation. And I think in the next day or two we're going to reconcile with HFG to see exactly where we're at. I think we're getting close to having everything out there that they need. So anyway, more to come on that. That's all I have. The next item.
Mr. Chairman, can I add one more time?
Sure, absolutely.
I just got an email that even though I'm not on the Stokes Partnership for Children committee anymore, but want to thank Commissioner Chandler for taking my spot. It really has taken a load off of me. But I did get an email just 5 minutes ago. Want me to remind anybody that's watching that the Stokes Partnership for Children is having a ribbon cutting this Wednesday at 10 in the morning for the new book walk at Central Park in King. Anybody here and anybody watching on live stream, ribbon cutting this Wednesday at 10 in the morning for the new book walk at Central Park in King. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that reminds me, I'll post it.
Go ahead.
Ben and Jill that was here last meeting, their event is this Thursday at Sandy Ridge for the 60 plus, where you drive through and get food, clothes, and even pet food. So
That's their first time.
their
doing it.
first time, and it's this Thursday at noon.
Okay. Are they inviting people to come out? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
If they wanted people
They
to
need all the
RSVP,
volunteers they need.
could.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
I almost forgot that.
Anything else? Any third thoughts or whatever? So, okay, the next item on our agenda is our conflict of interest statement. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any items on the agenda for tonight or one that may be perceived as a conflict of interest? Oh, okay, great. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda to include the additional budget amendment that was handed out prior to the meeting. Can I get a motion for approval of consent
Motion
agenda?
to approve with the item that was handed to us right before the meeting.
Okay, and the rest of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Second that. Okay, any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, that takes us to our discussion agenda. First item on our discussion agenda is a letter requesting abandonment of the baseball field at Moortalk Park. And I think Tori's going to make some comments on that.
Okay. You have the letter provided to you in the agenda, and today, this morning, I heard back from Trey at State Parks, who I had emailed earlier last week, and he said that we need to remove the section talking about the bridge construction, that isn't pertinent to the abandonment. And that has been mentioned to us in the past about not mixing the two things, but I didn't know for sure if that needed to be in the letter, so we're just going to strike that paragraph, and then we'll add in a sentence that mentions that there were no comments in the public hearing, because they like to have that information if anybody commented or no one commented, and the attachment will be the public hearing advertisement. And then the letter we will submit to Brian Strong, the director there of NC Division of Parks and Recreation, and that'll be the first step to going through the process of getting the baseball field abandoned and turned into a green space, and that process could take up to a year. And this is something that needs to be done before the DOT can acquire right-of-way access for setting up the bridge replacement project.
Okay. Any commissioners have questions concerning this?
Just one. Tory, in the first paragraph, and it may not need to be changed, the wording may not need to be changed, but looking at what the Land and Water Conservation Fund Act of 65 did, placing numerous things, restrooms, signs, parking, recreational area with baseball and softball fields. Looking at your letter in area number 1 to Brian Strong, it says in the future, the county may install other facilities for public outdoor recreational use, and you give some examples. Are they going to be satisfied with the word may, or should we use the word shall?
Yeah, we can change that. And I even asked if we needed to run this through our attorney, and they said that it would just be up to our discretion if we wanted to do that. But I think shall is probably, I know that's been talked about before, shall and may, so we can change that wording, yes. If you think that that's the most appropriate for the, and Ty, I don't know if you saw the letter or not. I have a copy of it here.
Well, if you're going to install them, I would put shall.
Shall, okay.
If you're going to install.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr.
Mr. Chandler, questions? Yeah. I don't either, Tori, so with those changes you mentioned, I think we're all good to go. Does this need to go to action at the next meeting, or?
Yeah, that's fine. We will have the final letter with the one paragraph struck out and the word change, and then a sentence about there were no public comments at the public hearing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the temporary moratorium of large-scale solar farms. I think Ty Browder's going to comment on that this week.
Jennifer did the research and the work on this, and she prepared a proposed extension of the existing moratorium for 60 days. And that would require a public hearing, which would be set for the next meeting. What you're going to do.
Yeah, there's an item on the action agenda so we can vote to set
Right.
that date and time.
It's called a legislative hearing in the statute. It's just another name for a public hearing. So.
And that 60-day extension is just to give us additional time to figure out our path forward, right, for future moratoriums or other issues related to the solar farms.
Yeah, the only question I had is whether or not you think that's enough time to develop an ordinance in 60 days. 'Cause it needs to be realistic. If you don't have anything finalized within that period, you're going to have to extend it again and get through another public hearing. So I would recommend.
Can we pick a different time frame? Like if we wanted to say 120 days.
You could, you'd have to advertise for the public hearing for 2 weeks, I believe Jennifer said.
I was going to recommend, since this is an extension of an existing one, I was going to recommend you advertise for 2 weeks anyway. 2 consecutive weeks. You can start it this week, can't you?
Yes.
This week and next week. That'll satisfy the.
Probably do need more than 60 days.
I like the idea of 120 days personally, if we're allowed to do that.
Well, there's no specific. It just needs to be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
In view of all the facts and circumstances, and if you feel it's going to take that long to do it, I'd recommend you go ahead and do it.
Guys, the board, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'm good with 120.
Yeah, I'm okay. I was going to recommend 90, but I can go with 120. That's fine.
Okay, you good with that?
Okay.
Okay, so, do we need to put this on, do we need to have a consensus on this tonight, or what do we need to do, Amber?
That's fine, and then we can change that wording and have it on the next meeting for, on the action agenda
Okay.
after the legislative hearing for that same meeting. We just
Okay.
need time to advertise it in the paper before we take action on it.
Okay, so then what will it do? It'll come back on an action agenda later?
At the next meeting. And you
Okay.
can have it on the same meeting as that legislative hearing. So you can
Okay,
have both on the
okay.
next meeting.
Yeah, we do them both at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That sounds good. Any other comments or questions on that before we go to the next item? The next one is I think Commissioner Wood wants to comment on this one first with some action for DOT he's requesting in Meadows.
I had a call from a citizen pointing out there was a near miss at the early college Tech campus. And then the next thing she told me, I just couldn't believe, but I witnessed it this morning. There is nothing marked that that's a school on Dodgetown Road. You know how they put the stripes approaching school? There's nothing warning you. There's no signs. There's no change of speed limit. It's just Katie barred the door.
That's wild that
I
being
don't
right
have-
there and DOT's right there,
How did it
that they
happen?
would not mark that. I would think it would be up to DOT to do it,
So-
unless the school has to request
The
it.
question is, how long will it take to get it fixed?
Well, it should have a sign that says school zone,
Yeah.
and then if the speed limit is 45, it probably should be taken down to
Well,
35.
who's
or 30.
responsible for that? DOT?
DOT.
I think DOT.
Should always have a school zone sign at any school.
Mm-hmm.
And then a reduction of speed is commonplace when you get to the school zone.
Yeah, real reduction is usually 25.
I mean, we got two schools. I
25.
guess even double. maybe.
25, 30, yeah.
Yeah. I thought every school had those. I'm kind of surprised this one doesn't already.
I know.
So
I've never noticed that.
I didn't think about it either.
Because even before it was the early, before Forsyth Tech, we've always had Meadowbrook there for years.
Mhm.
I'm not Meadowbrook, I'm sorry, the early college.
Early college, yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah, and
I noticed it.
there a lot of other schools in the state are way further away from a road than that still have a school zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes at certain times it'll say,
Yeah.
like, of the day, but
I just goes to show you, early college was started in 2008 when Dr. Hobbs was superintendent. We're in 2023, so it's been 15 years and nobody's ever voted for it, but it shouldn't have a school zone sign and a reduction in speed.
What steps do we take to correct it?
I think we have to write DOT and ask
DOT
them.
wise, yeah.
I can write a letter similar to the one I did addressing the other issue because we got a response from Pat Ivy on that. So pretty quick.
Ask for a timeline too, when that can be corrected.
was that the Pinnacle issue, or was that the,
The Pinnacle issue
mhm.
that Stewart had asked us to address, where we'd have to take up the concrete
Oh,
and pour
yeah.
it back. And
Right, I seen them up there doing work, River Street, up there doing work the other day. on that.
So do you guys want to just delegate to Amber to write a letter and sign it and
Yes.
send it to them? And ask them, tell them it's something we've noticed and we have a concern about, and we've had some complaints about near misses there.
You're talking about the intersection, near misses at the intersection or at the college?
At the college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they don't slow that, and there's no reason for them to slow that.
Right.
And see, we've got
Yes.
both the Forsyth Tech Trades building there right on the road, and then you've got the early college as you pull in.
Yeah.
And so you have traffic going in and out of there. So it definitely needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was in, we've had people talking to us about that four-way stop right there and how, they're not used to stopping, coming down 89. And we had to take a detour in Indiana coming home the other day, and we went through this town that had a four-way stop similar to that. And their stop signs have these blinking, flashing lights on the stop signs. I've never seen that in North Carolina, but I don't know why we couldn't have something like that there.
I think that would be great.
So while
If Keith
you're at it,
remembers,
mention that to him
I
again.
brought that up
at the
about,
four-way.
I brought that up about 2 months ago.
Yeah, we got.
Because I got
There's one
calls,
in Walk Cove now.
I saw, oh, I went through, yeah, I've been there, but that one, that four-way, first of all, it caught people off guard. They didn't know that four-way stop sign was going to be put up. A lot of people didn't. I was getting calls saying, hey, we almost had a wreck.
Yeah.
Chief, I know you said you had a couple. And the other thing is you're driving along at a certain speed, and then all of a sudden it's right there in front of you, and you guys sort of slam on the brakes. And if we had something that could catch the attention of the driver, other than the stop sign, some type of blinking light or something.
They even told me when I asked about rumble strips, they said that they made too much noise, but that people would complain. But then I've been told they could temporarily put rumble strips there till people got used to it and then take them up. But I don't know. Do we want her to also, while she's writing that up on our behalf, mention reducing the speed along where the dump is in Pinnacle, where the green site?
We mentioned that when we addressed the other issue. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I can send you that copy of that letter
Okay, just
again.
send
The
us
response
that.
that we got, if you'd like.
Response, because I mean, I think that would be something that would require them to do a study probably through there.
Yeah, I can send that response again,
Okay.
so that way y'all have it.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. Thank you.
Okay, so Amber's going to do a laundry list to Pat, all right? And
Separate letters, the school's priority.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
You want two separate letters?
probably wouldn't
I
hurt
think I would not blend them together.
to get his attention. Yeah.
Show them we're high maintenance.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is solicitation on county property, and this is the food truck issue that was addressed earlier in public comments. So I think we need to discuss this. I'll let you guys go first, but basically we need to decide if we're going to allow solicitation or what activities we're going to allow to be done on government property here. And maybe food trucks may be in a special category or something. I've had several calls about the food trucks, which I'll talk about when my turn comes. But I'll start with you if you want to talk about this.
Fine. I've got some thoughts on it because of living in King and knowing that King City Council's already addressed this because their lot across the street is county-owned property and they allow food trucks to set up there. I paid attention to what they were dealing with on that issue and how it got resolved. And basically, they have to, I guess, register with the city there, and I think there's a one-time fee of $75 that I don't know who that's paid to or how that or what I don't know exactly what the fee is about, but I do know they pay a fee and then they set up through the clerk's office a time to come. They can't just randomly show up and set up, but they are required to have a time to come, and so that so several don't show up all at the same day, so they spread it out. And I know the Songbird House they have a set every Friday morning from 7 to 11 or something. They're there every week, and I do know like some of the local coffee shops complained about that because they thought it would take business away, but I feel like there's plenty of business to go around and it hasn't really been an issue because they kind of have a niche thing with the muffins and things that they do, and they just have coffee drinks as well, but it's just 4 hours a week. That's not really going to make or break anybody, I don't think, but they do have a plan to allow for people to come and set up on city property. It's just got to be directed through the clerk's office so I don't know that if we need to develop something like that to not have an abundance of them here. However, I do feel like that the employees like having different trucks come and set up to give them more options, because I think everybody gets tired of eating the same things all the time. I even complain about that in King, and I've got a lot of options.
You got a problem.
I'm a little extra. But yeah, because we were talking about earlier, I love a good taco truck, and I've got like 4 Mexican restaurants in 5 minutes of my house. But you hand me a taco truck, and I don't know, it's just like, oh, okay. I want to go to that. So, you know, I don't see a problem with food trucks up here for the employees as long as it's not an abundance of, and it's fair to everybody as far as, because I think she made a good point, you know, they don't always know what the weather's going to be. They could prep for 100 people's meals and maybe serve 20 because the weather could be bad or something, and they could go in the hole because sometimes you can't freeze that food, or you know, it might ruin. I don't know if you prepare a lot of stuff. I don't know because I'm not in the food business, but I mean, I see that there's things with both restaurants and food trucks that, you know, it's not apples and oranges, but it's, you know, there's risks involved, I would say, in both. But I might think of another comment, but
Okay.
so far that's all.
We can do more than one round if we need to.
Okay.
Mr. Wood?
I'm surprised and shocked that this is even a problem in Stokes County, but how often are y'all planning on coming? Just once in a while.
The county invited.
Yeah, once a month or something I could see, because your bread and butter is going to be festivals, and God knows there's one every weekend somewhere. But I think it needs to be regulated, and we don't need. I don't need to get behind a food truck cussing them when I'm coming over here and I can't get in the parking lot. You don't need to be multiple food trucks. It needs to be scheduled and handled appropriately where everybody's happy. That's all I got.
Commissioner Chandler?
I guess my question is, what is our current policy?
There's not a written down policy that I know of for the food trucks. I know it's been a practice, I should say, for the last several
And
years.
what's the practice been?
That it's not a consistent schedule, but I wouldn't say it's more than 2 and 6 month period that we have a food truck or Kona Ice or some other dessert truck or whatever come and set up in the parking lot. We just block off the space for them. Typically, HR invites them. I've invited one myself. I don't have any relation to them. The employees don't benefit. They don't get free meals from it. The county doesn't charge them anything. We invite them to come set up for lunch. Like I said, it's normally a couple times every 6 months, if that. We hadn't done it in recent times. It's probably been over 3 to 4 months, if I had to guess, is the last one we had here.
I think that, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but the problem I have, and it's not their fault, I mean, it's your fault. I don't know how any to say it, but we can't. There's got to be there has to be a structure in place to where it's somewhat controlled. And what happens is once you just start doing something, and it's not a plan, it hasn't really been thought out. I mean, for example, you know, if we're going to do it, I would think that we would contact our county attorney to see if we have any liability, since we're inviting them
They carry their own
onto the
liability.
property. And, you know, and if they're walking over to the thing to, you know, to get some food, if they trip or fall, and stuff like that, to where it's got to be well thought out. And then with it, I mean, if we don't have a policy, then really, I mean, what's to stop anybody that, like, you know, like at 6 o'clock at night from 6 to 9, that food trucks come into the parking lot and, you know, put up signs directing the traffic off 89 to come in. I just want policy. That's what I want.
I think the main
Some
difference is we
guidelines,
invited them.
At least some
Yeah,
guidelines.
I think that is the main difference here, is that we did invite them. I mean, so it's not really solicitation in my opinion, but I think I agree that we do need a policy in place to provide that structure, and we can develop that.
Okay, that's all I got for now. Mr. Mendenhall?
Thanks, sir. I definitely agree with what was just stated. I heard two words, guidelines, policy. You want to call it a policy such and such and have the guidelines within the policy. That would be fine. The city limits of different towns. Went to Wantco Saturday to the antique store. And there was a food truck set up right beside it, selling mini donuts and coffee and things of that nature.
They were.
Yeah.
Not good.
So I can't say I'm sure, but I feel comfortable that the towns have guidelines and a policy. The county certainly needs to have the same. And I have nothing against them. I mean, you go through Wantco and King, and there's usually a couple, maybe 3 food trucks somewhere down there. They park in Wantco this was at the antique store. Sometimes it's up there near Jack Fowler Park. Different places. I'm sure in King, Sonia's got places too that they go to park. But if we don't have a policy with set guidelines, I don't know how you can actually look them in the eye and say, y'all are not following a policy that we don't have.
We need to just look. I know Rockingham County allows it on there. We just need to see if there's guidelines that they use for different.
I will say that we have a solicitation policy in our personnel handbook. I don't know if Jamie, I know she prepared a few words. I don't know if she wants to speak on that solicitation policy in the handbook or not. But we do have a solicitation policy in place already in our employee handbook.
Yeah, can we get Jamie, you tell us a little bit of detail on that?
But not specifically for food trucks, I should say. So we just need to specifically add that language in.
So watch what you say.
So I did provide a few words, and I was going to touch on the policy. Our policy for solicitations currently says, in order to protect county from unwanted interruption, in order to protect county employees from unwanted interruptions, it is the policy of Stokes County that solicitations by outsiders for any reason and solicitations by employees on county property are forbidden. I kind of want to go back to what Amber said, and my opinion was this was not a solicitation, as we did reach out to the food truck. I put a few words together, if I can just read those to y'all real quick. Employee morale is a huge topic in the business world these days. Our department specifically has been brainstorming on ways to boost morale for our employees with little to no cost to the county. After reading many conversations on the statewide HR listserv about the same issues, we felt that offering a food truck to our employees every now and again would help. The restaurants here in Danbury are delightful. However, one of the statements that I hear a lot from employees who resign and choose to commute to surrounding counties is that it would be nice to have more lunch options every now and again. Being a foodie myself, I reached out to Matthew Billings, our environmental health specialist, for help setting up a proper food vendor with permits in Stokes County to come offer lunch to our employees. I sent an email to all employees letting them know the date and time. I sent another email a few days later with the menu options. Keep in mind the employees paid for their own meal and they were not given any discounts. I understand that solicitation on county property is in question due to the services provided by the food truck from 11 to 2 on Wednesday, August the 9th. Being that we reached out and invited the food truck onto county property, I personally don't see where any policy has been violated. I did reach out to other counties, many of whom offer food trucks on site for county employees, some even multiple times a week. All of the counties that I spoke with did not have any food truck policy in their handbook. It is my opinion that food trucks should continue to be allowed onto county property to serve the county employees and the court system, just as they are allowed on county property to serve the students at the Stokes Early College for Forsyth Tech campus and the attendees of the Stokes Dome. Since the announcement of the food truck being on site, I have received many emails and phone calls from employees thanking me for this opportunity.
Well, I appreciate the other counties don't have a policy, but we're going to have a policy.
I agree. Okay, my thoughts on this, a couple things. First of all, I think we need a policy as well, specifically on food trucks. other solicitation we can maybe talk about separately. I talked to Sally at the Forsyth Tech today about it, and she was asking if we could continue to allow some food trucks to come there. They do it once a month, I think, and she said they do it for several reasons. First of all, the people are not close to a restaurant that are on that campus and don't have a lot of time for lunch, so it helps with that aspect. They also invite different types of food trucks so they can expose the students to different varieties of food, like Indian food or seafood or all sorts of different types of food and everything. Kind of almost like an educational kind of thing on types of food. We already have them for special events, like at the Stokes Stomp coming up. There's always one or two food trucks there, I think. So I think our policy should somehow reference special events. And then I think I saw or heard somewhere on Facebook or something that the county employees like the restaurants that we have here, but they would just like a little more variety. So we don't have a lot of restaurants, but the ones we have, they like them, but they would like just to have every once in a while have another option. So I think we should probably do a policy that allows them to come once a month or something. I don't know what the magic number is, but I don't think the local restaurant owners will have a problem with it as long as they're not coming every week, or getting really taking a lot of their business. I think they would understand these other reasons that people would like to have them. We'd like to, as Brad mentioned, get Ty to look at if there's any liability issues associated for the county, and I don't think there really would be. But since this has been brought up, I agree we really do need to put a policy in place so everybody will know what they can and can't do. And when you're doing that policy, I would definitely get direct feedback from the restaurant owners, from the ones that have restaurant services here in Danbury, and then get direct feedback from folks that own the trucks, and so that you understand both sides of the story. And then I don't know if we want to look at whether the food vendor is a Stokes County resident or not. I don't know if that should play into it or not. We can explore that, I guess. But they do have to. I wouldn't mind hearing just for like a couple of minutes what a food, and she kind of mentioned it, but what does a food truck have to do to be able to, from a permitting process and everything, to serve food in Stokes County? Did one of you guys talk about that?
Do you want to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you will, just step up to the mic.
As far as like their permits, the inspections, and how that relates to the brick and mortar restaurants that we
And the
have.
commissary kitchen aspect.
Yeah, so most mobile food units are required to have a commissary to operate in North Carolina. Some can be permitted without a commissary if they have sufficient prep space or cooler space, stuff like that. But all of the ones that we have here in Stokes County, they all have a commissary that they're tied to, and they go back there to do all of their prep, cold storage, stuff like that. And most of our mobile food units are inspected roughly 3 times a year. Some are 2, some are 3.
Is a commissary in a restaurant the same
It
thing?
is. It's already
tied
a
to a
permitted
restaurant.
facility. Yeah.
Okay.
So it'd be like a permitted restaurant or food stand or
So
stuff of that nature.
are the restaurants that they have to be connected with, do they have to be in Stokes County, or can they be anywhere?
So they can be anywhere in North Carolina, but you would hold your permit in the county that your home restaurant is in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if the commissary is located in Forsyth, then the mobile food unit holds the permit in Forsyth County,
Okay.
not in Stokes County.
So when I was talking about that King charged a permit or a fee, it may just be a permit that I'm talking about, the $75.
Probably a setup permit, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not saying we need to charge anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't care about that part of it, but I just wondered if it was a permit or a fee. I don't know.
Now, we do have other permits that, food vendors can acquire, which is a temporary food establishment permit. So that is if maybe the city of King or Danbury or whoever's putting on an event, they can acquire a temporary food permit, which
Event.
for that event, and they do have different standards there and qualifications to meet.
And just one last question. We're talking about Danbury, but what about other county government property throughout the county? With the policy, do they go to anywhere besides Danbury? Like, they go Moortalk Park, for instance, or do they go?
Just for the Stokes stop?
Just for the Stokes
To the
stop?
Lions Club.
Yeah.
Is that Walnut Cove, or that's us?
Yeah, that's us, yeah.
So I guess the policy needs to address if they want to go other places besides Danbury too, whether we invite them or whatever.
I would think each municipality is going to have their own, and then I don't know if Danbury has their own, or if
Yeah, that's a good point. We're in Danbury, aren't we?
yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Well, I guess we'll do our policy based on county government property, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments on that? Okay, the next item is on tower fees for internet service providers. I mentioned this, I think, at our last meeting. Since then, I've done some research and asked Amber and Glenn to do some research about whether our normal process should apply for these broadband antennas that they're putting up. And I'll give you an example of what we're doing right now. River Street has 5 towers, existing towers that they need to put antennas on. This is for our wireless coverage that's going to supplement the fiber that's being installed right up here on Hanging Rock Road, or whatever the name of it is right now. And this wireless coverage is really important that we get it out there, because it's really going to touch a large number of people, if you remember from the presentation that they gave. So their question is about permitting, and what if we just follow our normal process, that they were going to be charged $3,000 per site. $2,000 of it goes to the county, $1,000 goes to our consultant, who is a consultant who reviews plans for cell towers. Kind of get to the bottom line up front, and I got Glenn's recommendation on this too, and I think Eric also. They don't think that this should have, all that pricing and everything is designed for big cell companies that have really deep pockets. Not really designed for nonprofits like River Street or smaller companies that are doing broadband. So their opinion is that we should, do an addendum? Is that what we said, Amber?
Probably just, if the board wants to consider it, the best action would be to amend the zoning ordinance, probably to specify the difference between broadband and cellular companies when it comes to towers.
Yeah. And for example, with these 5, there's 5 of them, so it's $3,000 per tower, $2,000 to us, $1,000 to the consultant. 2 of the towers they're doing are towers where all they're doing is replacing equipment that's already on there with updated, more high-speed equipment. And then 3 of them are new sites where they have complete engineering evaluation and everything of the tower. So. And they're small antennas compared to the stuff you do on cell towers. So we really don't need the consultant's advice on them. They do this all the time. And the problem is, until we resolve this permitting issue, it's holding them up on ordering equipment that they need for the wireless, because they don't want to, go order something and then we send it to consultant and they find some little something that they don't like, and they have to cancel that and reorder. So it's slowing down the process, basically, of getting the wireless thing put up. So I guess I would ask the board to consider doing this amendment to the ordinance. Let me see, I had a couple other points. I'd asked River Street about, and they said several other places, everybody deals with it a little bit different, but she said they'd had several other places where they waived their normal process because they're in a hurry to get broadband. I think we're also in a hurry to get broadband, so, so I would suggest that we make this, that we ask planning to amend the ordinance to take these broadband things out of that normal process. Paying $2,000 to us is like us billing ourselves for something. I mean, it's just money that comes in here that would be, if it stayed there, it'd get applied to the network, and so to the network expansion. So it really don't make a lot of sense, I don't think. And the other thing I would ask the board to consider, I just thought of this driving down here, is that while we're doing this amendment to the ordinance on these first 5 towers, just tell them to go ahead and proceed. If you guys are comfortable doing that, just so we don't slow up the process of getting more equipment, more broadband coverage in here. So that's my thoughts. You want to start this time, Commissioner Mendenhall?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well. I don't have any comments at this time.
Okay, comment?
Yeah, no additional comments, no.
Okay.
I want Ty's comments. Are we opening a can of worms with Verizon because they do data and internet too? A lawsuit?
I would have to, before I give you an answer.
I'd like
I'm
to
gonna
sue
do a
them for
research
drop
on it.
calls. I say we waive it.
I'm fine with waiving it as long as we're not creating a mess with like Keith just did. As long as
Off the top of my head, I don't see a problem with waiving it.
Okay. And then going ahead and amending the ordinance to make sure that it's, on the future ones, that it's.
Yeah, if you'd like to, if that's the direction we want to go and amend the ordinance, I can go ahead and get Glenn and Eric to work together with Ty to create some language that would be good to amend the ordinance with, and then it would have to go through the planning board, of course.
Yeah.
They'd have to look at it, approve it, and recommend it to y'all.
Okay.
But we can go and start that process.
Okay, you can start that process and we'll waive it for these first 5 towers that they're doing. Is that good with everybody? Do we need a motion to do that, y'all think, or a consensus?
I think a consensus would be okay.
Okay.
And we can act on that.
Okay, any other thoughts before we go to the next item? Next one is the Stokes County Aging Planning Committee appointment. And Amber, you're going to talk about that one, I think.
Yeah. So we received an appointment application from Kathy Young. She's interested to serve on the Stokes County Aging Planning Committee, and we hadn't received any other applications besides her, but we do have 8 vacancies right now. So Miss Young, if she was appointed, that would make 7 vacancies still for this committee. So if any of you know anybody else who'd be interested,
Okay.
they can certainly use people. I know Vicky East has tried to look for some people, but I don't think there's a lot of interest.
Okay. Well, I'll open the floor for nominations to nominate Kathy and then anybody else that you might want to nominate.
Make a motion to nominate Kathy Young.
Nominate Kathy Young. Just second it.
Second.
Okay.
Kathy, I can close nominations?
Yeah, we'll close
Close
nominations.
after we,
Oh, okay, Kathy, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Kathy as well. I have a motion to close nominations.
motion we close nominations.
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Uh,
Okay, that'll get advertised now for 2 weeks,
To
and
the
then
next meeting, yeah, and then we'll just put it on the action agenda.
maybe
for the next meeting.
we can find some other folks to add at that
Yeah.
time. But,
That'd be great. I know it's been, personally, since I've been here, I know it's been on the website the whole time.
mhm.
It's been on there for a while.
Okay, and there's 7, they have 7 vacancies?
Yeah, if Kathy gets appointed, there'll be 7 more.
Still 7 more?
Yeah. That's the one that, I think the board appointed Brandon Hooker to not too long ago. So.
All
who's
righty.
on it, just Kathy and Brandon? Are you on it?
No.
I can get a list
I'm
of
on
people
everything
if
else
you'd
that's
like
on.
to. If you'd like to see who's on it.
That's okay. I was just curious.
Okay, I think that's everything on our discussion agenda. The next is the action agenda, and the first one is the request to amend the River Street contract as we talked about last time, to sort of reestablish our intent to contribute up to, forget what the amount is, but kind of reestablish what our intent was before we switched the ARPA money over. I get a motion for that.
Make a motion for the additional request to amend the River Street contract per the contract that was provided on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, anybody further discussion or questions on that? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, we have Board of Health appointments. At the last meeting, Stephen Jones and Amber Hereford were nominated to serve on the Board of Health. No further applications have been received at this point. So we need to poll on that,
Unless anybody else has anybody they
unless you have any other
would like to
nominations.
nominate. Yeah.
Okay, you'll start with Commissioner Mendenhall.
Sir, Hereford, Amber Hereford, and Stephen Jones.
Amber and Stephen.
Amber Stephen.
Amber Stephen.
Amber and Stephen.
Okay, so they are appointed to the Board of Health. Next item is the proposed abandonment of Shoebuckle Road. I get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation for the abandonment of Shoebuckle Road.
Second.
Second.
Any questions, discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. That passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on our agenda is we need to set this legislative hearing for the temporary solar farm moratorium that was discussed earlier. And that'll be at our next meeting, right? Okay.
If that's okay with the board, we'll just do it like we did tonight for these public hearings at the beginning of the next meeting.
Yep, okay. Can I get a motion for that?
Recommend that this be put on our next agenda meeting, board meeting, to discuss the term or the length of the amendment.
All right.
Second.
Any further discussion, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. I think our next item on the agenda, we didn't add any action items, did we? Is to enter closed session, and County Manager Amber Brown will read the rationale for the closed session.
To consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3.
I get a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to enter closed.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll go into closed session. Okay, does the board have any further business before we adjourn? Otherwise, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.